my grandfather, Bud Hilrick, and Mr. Bradsby were avid golfers. And they said, what the hey, we know all about wood, and all we need is a guy from Scotland to show us how to hammer out an iron. And we were in business. And that's how we got started. When I first came to work for the company, I was in the repair department on the 5th floor of a 5-story building with 1 elevator. I learned from the customers what I thought they wanted in the back of a club. And we couldn't do that with the forgings that we had. It had to be an investment cast. So I learned a bit about investment casting. And then I came and started doing the clay, building it in clay. And I got it to where I couldn't do any more to it, so I handed it to an artist. And she came back and really made the shape of it so much nicer. The function didn't change, but she made it look so much better, and that was really a big seller for us for many years. From 1985 through 1993, PowerBilt was the key division of the company. That was where the bread and butter came from, was PowerBilt. And PowerBilt at the time was the PowerBilt citation wood. That was the king. That was the PowerBilt Persimmon. That was the big carrier for the company. We had a vice president of marketing, Jack McGrath, and he went up to New York, talked to them, and he asked them what color will stand out the best on a color television set. That's where it came from. Favorites would be Fuzzy Zeller, who we would fish together many times, and he was just a crack-up character. And he would pull stunts, and he would tell stories that were amazing. You just hardly believe them, but you knew they were true because he did them. Miller Barber was one of my favorites from one aspect of how he came here every other year to get a new set of golf clubs. And he would go into the factory and work for at least 2 days, getting his irons ground just the way he wanted them. There was no such thing as a match set of golf clubs for Miller Barber. Everyone was unique. And I kept asking him about why he was so particular. He said, you know that little bulge I saw on the toe? He said, I know that bulge is there, and I know I can correct for it, but I don't want to correct. I do not want to change my swing. And that was interesting. It stuck with me why these guys are so particular. They want to groove that swing, and they don't want to change it.
You know, I work with tour players from Bobby Nichols all the way up to Kenny Perry, Larry Mize, Chip Beck, and all of them. And they're all different on what they're looking for. Some are difficult, some are very easy. I guess the most difficult set would be for Fuzzy Zeller because of his requirement of, he didn't really specify too many things, what he wanted. But one thing he did do, he liked a flat lie. He liked to keep his hands down low hitting his irons. And it can go anywhere from a 2 to 3 degree flat lie on a 2-iron, all the way up to a 6 degree flat into his 9-10 pitching wedge.
We just can't forget the LPGA was really important to our company too. We had almost as many women golfers on the tour as we did the men. And you've got Jane Blaylock, Sandra Palmer, Gloria Earhart, Betty Dodd, just to name a few. We got a big step up when we started producing clubs for a Japanese firm called Kokusai Kogyo. At one time, a third of all of our golf production went to Japan.
Isaiah Aoki, he was a pleasure to work with. He couldn't speak English, but he was a pleasure to work with.
We're in Canada, we're in Japan, we're in South Africa, we're all throughout Europe, we're in Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. So some of our greatest assets are our business partners around the world.
See, PowerBilt brand for us is fantastic. It's a family-owned brand, it's a homegrown brand. You bring that into Australia, and it fills in with everything that we do, especially in West Australia where I am. Basically, everything we do is all from farmland, it's all grown up permanently as one big family. And everything we like to do, we like to turn it back into that.
It was just a small company, close-knit, and of course, we got the right players who really represented the family and the company well. most of our reps and employees loved golf, and part of that, I think they could relate to the fact that the family and the company always wanted to do the right thing by people, always wanted to do the right thing by the game of golf, and just live the values that golf wants us to portray, and that's just being honorable and respectful. Derek Jeter is a pretty aspirational guy, but that quiet confidence. He doesn't say a lot, but when he walks in the room, everybody turns around and says, "This is the guy." And he won 5 championships, but he was a guy who did it without having to be flashy, without having to put anybody else down. And that's kind of where PowerBilt is that they're not the flashiest brand in the industry, but we certainly have obviously been here for 100 years. We've never gone against our values. We've always been part of the game. We've showed up to work every day, and we've done the things that it needs to be a champion. I think my greatest memory is in 1987 when Larry Mize chipped in to win the Masters. I mean, we thought, oh, he was so close. He was so close, and it's not going to happen for him. But of course, everybody knows what happened. It was unbelievable. A lot of brands go for the elite players, and then there's the rest of us, right? And there's a lot of us too. And so we've always strived to take the technology and the clubs and the brand and make it accessible to everybody, whether it's a 20 handicapper or female golfers or kids. And the juniors, the kids are the future of the game.
The guys and the girls that just want to play it as a hobby and play on weekends, who don't want to spend $1,500, $2,000 for a set of golf clubs. Why shouldn't they be able to get a quality set of golf clubs for $500 or $600? They should.
We really thought that we could make an impact to the game, and certainly develop a product that was the best at that level and affordable, accessible. And one day we thought that once that guy starts to be a better handicapper, he'd be using our clubs as well.
Well, first of all, I've played with a lot of people over the years who know my game, and they've played with me this year and asked me, what happened? Because I'm hitting it farther, I'm hitting it straighter, and I'm hitting it with more confidence.
I can give it to the best player in the world, I can give it to the worst player in the world, and I can find a happy medium for that player to use. You can get a good spin rate, a good low launch, and you can still get it going very, very consistently.
I put it on our flight scope machine, our radar, put it up against all the drivers on the market, and decided that the Air Force one was right for me. Miss hits and ball speed, everything was working out, and at the end of the day, it's performance over anything.
The PowerBilt Air Force 1 driver, I can get a fantastically low spin with a good high launch, and I can do that with any shaft option that I can put in there. If I've got a really, really strong tour player in there, I can honestly give him that with a strong shaft, and it's perfect. It works very, very well.
And what we've been able to do through the air technology is actually thin that face really thin to where the average golfer can get that spring effect and yet still maintain the product within the rules of golf and within quality and integrity.
Because the drivers, the technology, and the irons, they all work as well as, if not better, than some of the brands that are held in the more public domain, the more public regard.
So it's from a competitive standpoint, and there's an old saying is that you sell to the classes, you live with the masses, but if you sell to the masses, you live with the classes, and we intend to sell to the masses, not just the classes.
It's got 100 years of history. It's never been owned by anyone else apart from the same family. And the big difference that makes for us is you're always going to get the same representation from that brand.
We're into our second 100 years, and it's been quite a change from 1916 to 2016. We're a different model company today. We do things a lot different. Of course, the clubs are a lot different today, but the name PowerBilt is still there and ready for the next generation.